And ladies and gentlemen, Blue Levee is in the house. Ladies and gentlemen, they are in the house. We have the band, the duo, Blue Levee in the house. Thank you for being here, guys. I really appreciate you guys. So Blue Levee shows up on the show about a weekish ago, and he's like, and I'm like, okay, yeah, Blue Levee band. Let's see what you got. I am immediately smitten. This is an incredible duo. It is not easy to do great blues and original sounding blues. This is not something that is easy to pull off because blues has been done and any decent band can do it. Not like this. Absolutely spectacular music. Introduce yourselves to the group here. So you definitely have some fans in the house here. But you also have the crew here. So introduce yourself. How you guys kind of individually, how you come to where you're at, and then how this thing that is now Blue Levee, how this happens. Just kind of introduce yourself where you're at there.
Yeah. So I am Noah DeSimone. I'm the guitar player and singer and songwriter. And yeah, I've been playing blues since I was a kid. I was in like the Blues Society of Northwest Florida, Belmont Youth Band, which is another kind of blues-centered society that helped me kind of figure some stuff out when I was a kid. And then started playing in bands when I was like 18. And Jaron and I met, I think, when I was like 21, maybe 20.
Probably. I was probably like 23, 24, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and I'm Jaron. I'm the bass player, I guess like producer, engineer of our music. And yeah, I started playing the blues after I met Noah. Noah kind of taught me how to play the blues. Before that, I was like a punk rock kid. Maybe a little country, a little reggae, that kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I really got into blues now.
And I love how these different, because you have in your music, you have those rock elements, you have the punk influences, you have something of a fusion sound, you have that reggae in there, you have that, but underneath it all, there's this blues bedrock to it. So so how does this talk about how this happens as a band then? How you guys end up playing together, and then what it looks like for you guys to meld as a group together to where you're just able to play off each other so well, because that is one of the trademarks of this music, that you are able just to it's like breathing for you guys when you're playing.
Yeah. So before this, I mean, I was playing when I was like 20. I was in my first real kind of band, and we just had small gigs, and it was a lot of different, I guess, ideas about what we were doing with the music. It was some older guys that were probably more interested in like really old school kind of blues. So a lot of like Freddie King and, like Johnny Winter, maybe at the most extreme, but mainly like Freddie King, Albert King kind of stuff, which is great. And that's kind of the fundamental stuff that I learned.
Mm-hmm.
But I was, and you probably can tell, I was really into Stevie Ray, probably too much at that point. So I was really just obsessed with that, which I think is a phase a lot of blues people go through.
It's a good guy to obsess over.
And so at that point, I really wanted to do more kind of like psychedelic kind of blues, rock, fusion-y stuff. And so eventually that band kind of fell apart, and then we were doing, I think both of us were doing fill-in stuff. And so I was subbing for this reggae band called Sandy Roots, and they're great.
Still around today. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was terrible. I was not good at reggae. I didn't know what I was doing at all. So I kind of just made a fool of myself. But but I was playing blues over it. But I met Jaron there. He was the bass player, and asked him if he wanted to do something, and we started kind of working together and figuring some stuff out.
Yeah, and I had a PA system, so I'd bring the PA, and we'd play gigs, as many as we could get.
Yeah,
pretty much.
And I think playing together too, just over time, we figured out like what was fun to play too, and a lot of that is just like the I don't know. Even if it's different songs, there's like different kind of modes we have and gears we have that we know, collectively will work when we're kind of jamming and improvising.
Yeah, and I'm always listening to his guitar playing and like, trying to decide, whether I need to bring the energy up, pull it down. And they'll also have like hand signals while we're playing, like, so we're always trying to work on dynamics and it just kind of fills out our whole sound, that kind of stuff.
All right. So, do we have guitars there, or are we running on my end on the music? It's your choice on that.
I don't have a guitar.
I
see a guitar over
like
here.
Acoustic. I didn't know if
Grab that acoustic, man. Grab the acoustic. So we've heard the music, and I do want to hear the stuff together. So we are definitely going to be playing the Blue Levee content, but let's just hear and these guys jam together, vocals and everything else too. It's kind of the heartbeat sound for you guys when it's stripped down, when it's just you guys rocking out. Stripped down, there's nothing. It's just acoustic, and you just the amps are gone. Everything else. I think I want to start there. Is that sound, that guitar work, that kind of a song, and whether it's yours or someone else's, just that kind of a jam for you guys.
Yeah. So I will confess I'm not much of an acoustic guitar player, but a lot of the like rudiments that I was talking about earlier is the like I talked about Freddie King. Freddie King was a big one. So like Hideaway, that kind of stuff. It's like chugging Texas style blues. Even when we play stuff that it's not, maybe doesn't have a swing to it or anything, I still like sort of the dynamics that brings for like a three-piece. So like stuff like the you can do like that fundamental stuff and then throw in some like 7 chords. So like yeah. So just that kind of is like the basics of it, and to get into a little bit of the music theory side of it. With the reason I like Hideaway is because that song was where I started to understand how you could combine like major and minor, which I didn't have any understanding of music theory at all. I still don't have a great understanding of it, but Jaron actually helped me with that a lot because
when I was first getting into music, I did like a deep dive into theory and all the different modes and what the notes were. because I'm a mechanical engineer, so my brain just kind of works in that, like, I want to put everything together. So for a long time when I started music, I was just like all about the theory, and that kind of helped me and Noah, play together and communicate.
Yeah, because
I like, it's interesting to me. You have the guy who just plays off the heartbeat, off the soul of stuff, and you see that in you saw the videos where you're sitting there and all of a sudden you're doing this behind the back shit and just all this other stuff where you're just rocking out, you're just rolling with the moment. And then you have the straight man, which it's funny because the guitarist looks like the straight man and the straight man looks like the guitarist. But but the more of the nerd of the group, the music nerd of the group. But when you put the two together, what happens now is this: both you're feeding off each other, and him kind of learning how to feel that heartbeat of it beyond what he knew. But then and that's what blues is. Blues is just telling a story on just a gut level. And at the same time, you're learning to enhance how to tell your story from the theory side.
Yeah. I mean, that feels like it exactly. That's kind of how the partnership works.
Yeah, because like I was saying, I didn't know any theory at all. And even the stuff that I did, like, intuitively from, learning other musicians, like that hideaway thing, he helped me figure out, like, no, what you're doing is like this, the circle of fifths, and you're throwing in major over minor. So, like, normally you would play, like, it's hard to probably
like
hear.
If you're doing a pop song, you would just play like a major scale like that.
Yep.
But with blues, you can do that kind of stuff, but you can also play, like, that would be the minor E, whatever. And this would be, if you threw in the major, and so what I would do intuitively is combining those, like, but I didn't know what I was doing. And then when he helped me understand that, then I was able to apply it more and kind of find more notes that really kind of worked with that. So it was a big revelation to me. And there are a lot of moments like that where he could kind of explain what I was doing where I didn't really know. And then once then I was like, okay, theory is actually kind of cool and I can actually apply it.
Yeah, guitar players have a very averse theory.
Bad at math, that kind of thing, yeah. So.
But yeah, I felt the same way, just like in reverse, I would understand, like, the concept of how notes should fit together, but I couldn't get it to sound good when I tried it. But, like, over time, like, playing with Noah and learning some of the licks he does, like, it started all fall into place.
So, if you, with what you have released here, what song for you kind of catches some of the best of that for you?
You go and then I'll go.
Well, my favorite one's the new one, Wake Up, just because I feel like I had the most... I mean, I got to be the most creative on it, but I was also the most, like, knowledgeable at the time. And I don't know, I just think our music's going to get better and better because I just keep finding new ways or, like, zoning in on what the Blue Levee sound is going to be and, like, how to achieve that sound, what plugins to use, what effects. But when it comes to, like, theory and, playing the guitar, maybe actually it'd be Lovely Bruises. Because that bass line it's so bluesy, but also that reggae. It was like that switch. It was like right in the middle of the switch where I made that bass line. So I think that one would probably be, a good representation of that.
I'll bring that in. So this is Lovely Bruises, Blue Levee, in the house here. And by the way, just remember, he's not an acoustic guitar player at all. He's just terrible at acoustic. Whatever. That's
that was all open. If I played stuff that wasn't open, I would be struggling. So.
Oh, but welcome. You just described every guitar. You know what? You're spectacular on guitar.
Thank you.
Here's Lovely Bruises. Here we go.
When the sun goes down on you, what you gonna do? Those pretty ribbons, do they tie you down? A pretty fall once you hit the ground. Every night and every day, you take your shots and they all fade away. Just flecks of dust that you create. You build them up just to watch them break. We'll be there to watch you lose. The time is coming, now you gotta choose. 'Cause what you do, it leaves a lovely bruise.
Yeah.
There is a way that that bands that build on album release play. And then there's a way that concert bands play. And it's not that one doesn't do the other, but there's something fundamentally different in the style of play. For you guys, while you cross over well into the studio, it's when I'm listening to the studio recording of this, I can almost hear the concert experience. You're clearly a concert band. So for you, what makes a great song? What makes a great concert song? What makes a great song that this is what we're going to use? This is what, as a band, we want to kind of identify our sound and our style as a performer. What is it that defines that for you?
So, I guess I'll go first.
Go ahead.
So, it's funny you said about the concert thing. So that one came out, or I guess we recorded it, that was maybe the third song we'd ever recorded.
Yeah, it was the third one.
And first one I think we did at your house, and someone that you did personally.
Yeah, this
right?
is the first one that I mixed and recorded everything and produced.
I was definitely playing it just like it was a live thing because I wasn't used to recording, which I'm still trying to get used to. And like you said, it is very different. But as far as the thing that makes it a big one that you're excited for and you want to kind of end your set with or kick off your set with, if it's like a live thing, for me, I look for songs that are pliable. And that's the good thing about blues, but especially if it's a blues or blues-based song, not just songs that are pliable, but songs that have energy and especially.
So explain what you mean when you say pliable with that.
So songs where you can, it's not so strict that you couldn't give a signal to a drummer and say we'll do 2, and it's okay, we're going into double time. Or even 3, and it's all right, even faster than that. Or songs where it's if I want, I can get really clean and take all the pedals off and get real quiet, and then I can start playing, I don't know, maybe jazzier. Or songs where you can pick it up and make it kind of like a funky thing. That song in particular is one that I like to do live because Jaron has that cool bass line where it kicks in and then it kind of goes into that almost pop rock kind of Red Hot Chili Peppers sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And I sit back a little bit and let him kind of shine in that moment. So it's songs like that where there's something there. One, they're easy for me to experiment with because when I play, the whole point of playing is to have fun. And if I play the same thing the same way every time, it's not fun. So ones that I can experiment with, and then also ones where they have something where it's okay, here's when it kicks in. There's a second gear to the song, I think is fun.
Yeah.
I don't know if you feel different, but.
What makes a good song playing live? I mean, I always like when the crowd gets involved or they start dancing or cheering at least.
I should care about that.
I know. But yeah, that always gets me going. And we play, I don't know if you know this, but we play shows every weekend. We're playing a show. We play at the local bars, restaurants. We live on the beach, so there's all these tourists that come in. So we're playing shows every weekend. So we're just so used to that live situation. And, it's just a lot of trying to talk to the crowd and just kind of amp them up so that once we're playing and, we're not on the mic, that they can kind of, amp us up. So anytime we can get the crowd going, I feel like that makes a good song.
So is there a difference for you between a great song to use for an album, a studio song versus that great song for the live, or is it just one the same for you?
I think they could be different. I think even if there's a song trying to think, When I Cross That Line is one that I really like how we did it, and I feel of all the songs we recorded, that was the one where it's probably one of the most polished because that was when we started figuring it out, and I started doing some studio stuff more and had a sense of kind of how to scale it back, and so that one I think works better probably recording wise than it does live, but it's one that when we play it live, I'm more apt to change things. So it's almost like you have the song sort of formulaically laid out how you want it in the studio, and then when you play it live, you kind of have a different idea of how you're going to lay things out. And then also, like,
we're frozen right now. We have Blue Levee band frozen right now. We have a signal. That's going to make great screenshot though. Am I frozen or are they frozen? All right, we lost them. We're going to get them back in a second. That'll make great screenshot. Someone just screenshot that shot. We have Blue Levee band. We'll get them back here. Here they are. Let's get them back up here. And we're going to get them up here. We just put the invite here, guys. This is wow. We just had them drop. Let's see. To get them up if they are invited. Oh. Blue Levee band beam page to the stage. Blue Levee band beam stage to the stage, ladies and gentlemen. While we're doing, let's go and play that. When I crossed that line, the one he was talking about. So we just heard their lovely bruises as a concert thing. Let's hear the contrast on that.
will I be cold when I fall down and I sink into the ground, and I will roll among those hills till my days have reached their fill. Well, I'm not scared, 'cause if you're there, well, I'll be fine. When it's time to cross that line. Well, I will roll among those waves, crash down between the days, be falling in the warmth upon your skin. Well, I'm not scared, 'cause if you're there, well, I'll be fine. When it's time to cross that line.
There we are.
Right. I don't know what happened there.
So right now we're running. I'm gonna cross the line there just because then.
Well, I'll be cold when I fall down and I sink into the ground, and I will roll among those hills till my days Yeah. 'Cause if you're there, well, I'll be fine. When it's time to cross that line.
I just love how you dropped the fuzz on that one. So that one does it has a lot more polish to it, but it still has that breathing room in a different way. So with Lovely Bruises, it does have that. It has that breathing room, but more in that pure blues jam session sense of a term, where it just one runs into another. When I crossed that line, it seems to have it has that breathing room, but it's in a similar way to Eric Clapton and Cream with their jam sessions, where they would still flesh it out, but there was more technique, there was more substance to the jam out than, say, when they were just doing the stuff that were the pure blues ones that they did.
Yeah. So like this one was one where I think I was more comfortable with one, like the gear that I had, and then also some of the styles that at this point I had more musical sort of inspiration to draw from than back then when I first started. So I knew now it's kind of like, okay, what am I drawing from? So I was like, I wanted to throw in some Eric Johnson licks, and then obviously still gonna have some like Hendrix and Stevie Ray stuff because I can't really get rid of that. But then you have like original ideas you want to throw at it, but this was when I was like, okay, let me try and like do it like you're talking, where you have pauses. And I really wanted to, instead of kind of making it sound too jammy, I wanted to try and put, one singular sort of musical idea per phrase when I'm playing, and trying to focus more on the phrasing, I guess.
Is it harder to play a gentle song like that than it is to play the really rock out jam ones?
I think in the studio, no, but when I'm playing live, yeah. I don't know why, but like, I think the reason is because when you're playing softer stuff like that, the pauses aren't as, in like the breathing room that you talked about, it's not as scary as when you're trying to do that with a big song, because then the silence is like deafening. Yeah. Whereas something softer like that, it's a little easier to play more melodically or more sort of tastefully. Because I think the Keep It Up song, I don't know why, but when we recorded that was like the hardest thing ever for me to record. I did
it takes a long time.
So many takes, and I just kept like overplaying, or I don't know, just kind of stringing everything together and not really having cohesive sort of ideas like we were talking about earlier. I think for me, yeah, if it's chiller, it's a little easier to kind of tastefully play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Talk about the songwriting side of this, from both your sides here. Once again, this is yet another band we've had where, I mean, it's easy within blues to sit there and just get that hooky hook, that little riff, that roll with it. And that's really all you have to it, because it's about the instrument. It's about the instrument play. It's about the jam session back and forth. And you have those jam sessions, but if you hone into those lyrics, Lovely Bruises, the song's intense. The lyrics are intense. When I cross that line, there's your lyrics often in your songs have a weight to them that you don't often have within a blues-based sound. Talk about the songwriting process for you.
Okay, so I know we went over this in the last sort of little talk we did, but yeah, a lot of the songs, the lyrics I wrote while I was a creative writing student, and so like I would do this thing where I would try and take while I was playing, I would figure, okay, how many syllables per sort of bar, I guess, can I get away with? And then sort of what's the meter and the cadence of everything. And then I would write my notes down and then take it outside of the music and then try to come up with poetry that I could put into the music, which I've had mixed success with. But I think that going forward, maybe not doing that as adherently as I did in the past, the way that I'm kind of taking that sort of technique now is at least using that as the inspiration for what the song's going to be about, and it makes it a little, I don't know, maybe a little less generic in a genre where it is very generic. I mean, that's the whole point of blues, is it's a very formulaic genre, which is a great thing about it, because then you can be as experimental as you want to be within the confines of that genre. But yeah, I think that helped me kind of find more esoteric sort of inspiration for some of these songs, is taking it outside of the music.
It's funny how in poetry as well as the blues, when you're handed a form, when you're handed a formula, it's going to really bring some honesty out, because it's going to either expose how wooden your writing really is, or it's going to give you the room to really break out of that while using it. And there really isn't a lot of wiggle room in the middle for that. You're either going to use this as to break the box while staying in the box to do honor to the form, which it's a classic form. This is a form you don't mess with. This it's storied for a reason. It matters for a reason. So you're breaking out of that while honoring that, or you're just going to be another generic blues band. And it does. This is, I think this, like I said, I think this is part of what I'm gravitating toward with you guys, is that you're not just another blues band. You don't sound like anybody else. You have something unique happening in your lyric writing, in your music writing, the elements that you're bringing into it. It's different. It's fresh.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks. That means a lot, because we do. None of our songs are like the traditional blues standard where it's 1-4-1-5-4-1 over and over again. We always, have some kind of different chord progression, but it's always involving the 1 and the 4 and the 5. But we're just always trying to make it a little different, But I mean, one day we should.
I got
do
one
some
cooking.
kind of blues that's like real traditional.
Yeah, I got one cooking that I think will be more traditional. We'll see. But we have a lot of stuff we still got to work through, and other songs that we haven't recorded and stuff. But I think a lot of it too is, I don't know. I think when I first started writing, because all the songs that were recorded are things that I wrote a long time ago. So I think I was really purposefully trying not to write a 1-4-5, just traditional blues. And maybe now I'd be more comfortable trying to do something a little bit more traditional, now that I've heard, like, there's some incredible blues artists that I'm a huge fan of, like Doyle Bramhall, and then Eric Gales, and like modern guys, and Marcus King, where I've heard, okay, they did a pretty traditional blues song, or Gary Clark Jr., who's a huge influence. But they still make it sound fresh, whether that's through just like adding in different types of fills and lead playing, or changing up the drumming, or even the production of the song.
Yeah, some new kind of sound or something they bring into it, or whatever it is.
So
okay, for those of us who are not the music geeks, what do you mean by 1-4-5?
Those are the chords.
Yeah, so that's this. So like, I don't know where my
so like if you were in the key of E minor, that would be your 1 chord.
So like, yeah, if we're flat, so we're down half a step. But this is the 1, this is the 4, and this is the 5. So like a traditional blues is like.
One again. 4, 1, 4. On the 4th chord of the scale, and then back to 1. And then you'll go up to the 5, 5, 4, 1. And then you'll tag it with another 5.
And then it repeats. So it's literally a formula, and that's like 90% of blues.
Yes. And a lot of your and like I said, this is one of those things that when you mess with it with a respect for it, because it is one of those things that I don't care if you're talking about Mississippi John Hurt or Lead Belly or Etta, or you go down the line of these storied. They paid a price to build this music. And so there is a story. It's a music with a story and a legend to it. And you do honor to that legend, but at the same time, if you're doing the same thing everyone else did with it, you're just another band.
Yeah. And then you got to compete with the legends. So it's kind of, it's scary it feels like you're kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't. You know, it's hard to, not disgrace it a little bit. So you're kind of always walking that line of like, okay, does this feel like it's in bad taste, or is this original enough to where they're not going to hate me for it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're not Eric Clapton, where you're actually hanging around with him when you really wonk with their stuff, it's really hard not to feel like you're messing with sacred territory.
Yeah. That's like when we first started playing, I remember one of the drummers we were with, who's still a good friend, but he was like, you guys should do like a tribute act and do a tribute of Stevie Ray because you can play Stevie Ray and you should dress up like him. And that just feels like sacrilegious. I was like, I can't do that. That feels so gross to take somebody that I love and have this, obsession with, at the time, and then, cosplay as him. That's the thing that I don't want to do with blues music is, try and just put on a hat and say, oh, I'm this,
I love that concept, the musical cosplay. I think I'm going to start using that phrase in describing some stuff. Musical cosplay. So then what is it for you then, that as you've developed the sound and everything else, and you touched on earlier with Wake Up, what is the Blue Levee sound? If you had to sit and say, this is the sound, this is what, when you hear a Blue Levee song.
This is going to be a very different answer.
I don't know.
I can go first if you want.
I think, let's let Jaron go first. I don't want the heat.
Yeah, well, looking at it from a recording standpoint, because I'm the one in there mixing it. So when I was breaking into Wake Up, the two bands I really listened to I was listening to a lot of Stevie Ray Vaughan because I wanted to hear the mix between the guitar and the bass, like what the levels were between the two. Because I was trying to hit that, and I realized I was just making the bass too quiet, so it wasn't having enough blues punch to it really. So I brought that up. And then the other band I was listening to was Blink-182.
Didn't know this, but
no, because cool. I grew up listening to them, and they're also a three-piece. I mean, obviously not a blues band, but they're bass, drum, guitar. So I was like kind of listening to how Travis Barker, the drummer, records his drums, and one of the things he was doing was putting a phaser on his drum bus, so there's kind of like this whooshy sound in the cymbals.
Ooh.
And I put that into Wake Up, and
didn't know this.
Yeah, so it's automated. It'll come in and out. Kind of during the solos, it kind of amps up, so you'll hear this like whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. And it just gives it a little bit more sonic flavor to it. So I mean, that's I really love that phaser thing. So now it's in like all our live videos that we put out. I'll put like
I didn't know.
I'll put a mic on above the drums and I'll put that phaser on it so we get the.
That's cool though.
And I mean, it really works for a 3-piece because all you have is the drums, the bass, and the guitar. So it's always nice to have a little more something going on to listen to.
Yeah.
And I love this juxtaposition of Stevie Ray with Blink 182. That is and being able to bring those elements in. It brings to bear this idea that while there are elements we use, and you honor the elements, you honor the forms, at the same time, music is music, and it's either great music and great elements, or I need to just disregard this because this isn't something I want influencing my sound.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know, I've always been very eclectic with my music. It's not that I like everything, but I'm willing to listen to everything and try to like appreciate how they're getting their sound and like kind of appreciate what other people might appreciate about a song. So I'm always, down to listen to something and try to pull what I can from it.
Ladies and gentlemen, now you understand how Blue Levee ended up in our radio shows to begin with. So for you as the guitarist, what is it for you? And when you think the Blue Levee sound, what is that answer for you? What is that sound for you?
Yeah, so definitely I think Jaron's looking at the big picture of the band's tone. I think I have a tendency to square off and just look at what I'm writing as far as the songwriting and lyrics and stuff, and then like my guitar tone, and sort of the choices I make with my inspiration. So I think he covered the sound of the band probably better, but as far as my playing and the selections I make with writing, I think a lot of it is probably characterized by like, I noticed, I don't know, I like chunky rhythm, even if it's not like, that's the thing. The reason I showed Hideaway is it has that like the chunky.
Yeah, I feel like that's like a Stevie Ray rhythm.
That kind of
it has a heavy tone, it has a heavy chop to it. It's just that this meaty.
Yes, and also because we're a 3-piece, I like stuff, and I have to sing while I play. I want something that's like sort of simple and chunky, like, but still has like room between the chords where I can throw in, some fills. So that's a big part of it, no matter what I'm playing. And then sevenths, and then trying to throw in kind of jazzy stuff in there, even when it's not jazzy. So like, some weird, I don't know, just weird stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know, just kind of drawing inspiration from like Roy Gallagher is one of my biggest influences as well. So some of the weird, I think a big part of it is like some of the more obscure choices in a blues where you throw in like minor, almost like Irish folk stuff. So like if you got into Roy Gallagher, that like so it's sort of like a fusion of, I don't know, jazz and blues, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not explaining this very well.
I think it has a lot to do with the guitar pedal and the tone too, because we'll spend a lot of time in the studio. Like when he comes in the studio, the first thing we'll do is we'll set up the guitar and the amp, and we'll spend maybe an hour just trying to figure out what sounds good with what we're about to work with.
Yeah.
And we're just tweaking things, and he like clicks something on and says, "Does this sound better? Or does this sound better?" And before I had no idea. I couldn't tell the difference between a clean tone or a slightly less clean tone, but now that I've been working with him so long, I'm starting to pick up a good guitar tone in my head. I can hear it.
Yeah. I torment my wife with questions about tone, and she hates me for it. But
there was a time I had no idea what he's talking about. He like hit on the pedal. He's like, "How's that sound?" I was like, "I don't know. It sounds the same, man."
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. How does that sound? So let's hear the wake up then. You talked about this kind of getting in, liking the song because it starts getting into that tone. And I love the fact because you are producing your own stuff and you've done the work of production and learning that side, that you can hear it from the musician's ear and the producer side, that big picture thing. I think that's one of those things that someone like me or him, but we're guitarists, we're songwriters, we're not necessarily producers. We don't hear that. So that you can hear that. This is Wake Up, and we'll listen for the swishy stuff too. This is Wake Up on this.
Yeah, listen for those drum cymbals.
Okay, full stop on that. Before you can get the rest of it, that slow bring in on the guitar, and yes, Pam, here comes the nerd out, the geek out. That slow, that muffled, that, and then slowly just work in, all of a sudden pop in with this wail. What was the thought there?
My thought was, at the time I was listening to a lot of lo-fi. And lo-fi has this thing where they'll kind of cut all the frequencies out except for some kind of middle frequencies. Yeah. So that's kind of what I did with the drums on that intro. And then as you're getting to the end of that intro, it swoops out. So you get this kind of sound again. And I don't know, how did you come up with the guitar part?
I think when you're playing with it's kind of like the same thing you do with a wah-wah pedal. If anybody in there knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
When you're playing,
the wah-wah pedals, literally, when you hear a guitar going wah 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 wah, it's similar to what you hear with a whammy bar with a bendy bar, not quite. But that's what he's talking about, the wah pedal.
Yeah, it's like when you're playing with it, you're restricting the low end or the high end, and so that's why it sort of sounds real sort of muffled. And sort of low, mid, bassy.
It's the same thing that's happening with the drums. It's just, cutting off part of the frequency spectrum, so and then you're bringing it back in.
Yeah, but when you kind of open it up, and it's like your mouth is open almost, it's when you play high notes, it'll just sound really kind of badass. I don't know, it just sounds cool. And so that was what I was like, well, if we're going to do that, I'm just going to treat it like a wah-wah pedal. And I may have had a wah on, I don't even remember. But yeah, that's just I used to overuse a wah, so you just get very used to playing that way. So sometimes the gear dictates kind of how you play.
Okay, so guys, I promise you no more geek out in the middle of the song, at least not externally. It's that again.
I love that.
So there is a full-throated song. So this is the second band we've interviewed, bro, where it's a small group of guys. In their case, 3 guys. This with you guys, 2 guys, and you're using these techniques on the instruments to. It doesn't sound like 2 guys. It sounds like at least 4 guys up there. With what's happening on the guitar and then the tones and then the layers on the bass end, and then what is happening? Is this production? Is this technique you're using on the bass? We had a bass player in Low Down Dirty Heathens who they were talking about how he just ignored everything everyone else had done and just developed his own technique on the bass because he needed a bigger sound. So how much of this is production? How much of this is technique on the instruments? What's happening here with this sound? Because it's so full and just full throated.
Yeah. So live, I think it would sound pretty close to the same. There's some things that we can't do because there is a rhythm guitar track going the whole time. I'm pretty sure the whole time.
Yeah.
And then the lead comes in and out. So we don't have another guitar player. We don't hire another guitar player. So live, it's just Noah playing either the rhythm section while he's singing or the lead. For the bass, this one has like a lot more effects on it. I don't really remember exactly. I have a multi-effects board. And, I got into it one day and just found a bunch of stuff that I thought sounded good. And I just knew I wanted this one to be a little more funky and a little bit more, I wanted the bass to just hold everything down a little bit more. And like I said, all our other songs, I was turning the bass too low and it just needed to have more presence in the song to really hold everything up. And then, as a 3-piece, you are always trying to think about how to make the song sound fuller. So there's so many little tricks that I come up with or researched or found. But just as an example, that drum one I talked about with the phaser on the cymbals. It's actually on the whole drum bus, but it only affects the cymbals pretty much. That just adding that extra whoosh really fills up some space. There's also, you probably don't even know this, but there's also a piano or a keyboard part underneath it.
Did not.
Yeah, it's very rudimentary, and it's just popping from the 1 chord to the 5 chord, just back and forth, and it just kind of do. And it's going throughout the whole song, but the only place you really can hear it is that first solo when everything kind of drops out. So little things like that, just even if it's not noticeable to your average listener, it just fills out the sound and just helps, our little 3-piece sound even bigger.
So is there a lot of looper pedals and layering pedals that you're using live then to reproduce this?
Never.
No, I never have ever used a looper. So one thing that we try to do that I started figuring out once I played more and more live, and especially with different musicians, is it helps to really carve out frequencies. So if the drums and the bass are at a certain frequency, you want to make sure if you're a guitar player, you're not going to sit in the same frequency because you're going to sound smaller and you're going to kind of just blend in. And so in this song specifically, I like that you said full-throated because the term that people use, guitar players all the time, for certain tones is throaty. So I was specifically on this one trying to make it sound throaty, which is that weird, it's like a low mid-range thing. And specifically I was looking to do some of the same tones that Jeff Healey did on the See the Light album, which is one of my biggest influences. Which if you listen to it, you can hear a lot of that in this song. And so I was doing stuff where I leave the wah pedal half cocked, so it's like not quite all the way down or all the way up, and it gives it this weird throaty sound. And then if you stack it with a compressor and you play a certain way, it can make you sound bigger than one guitar. So that's some stuff that I can do live too. And there's simple things that you can just do as a guitar player to sound bigger. And then also, as a three-piece, you have to play differently as a guitar player, because I have to play rhythm and lead at the same time. So instead of playing just single note stuff a lot, I'll play a lot of double stops and, bigger, not chords, but, and things that'll fill up space and like arpeggiated stuff. So yeah, it's like the goal is to just fill up as much space as you can.
Yeah, and another way to do that, it's kind of counterintuitive, but what we do is we leave a lot of space so things drop out, and when they drop out, it leaves a lot of space. But when they come back in, it makes everything sound full again.
Yeah.
So if you can go through sections where things fall out, when they come back in, it'll make everything sound bigger.
And I think that is part of the importance of learning not to overplay, because what you want is the bigger sound. But if you can play those pauses, if you can play those quiet spaces, and then when it comes back in, the ear has settled into this, and now this has more punch. Yeah. But it's one of those techniques that's a little more nuanced. It takes a little more finesse to do it and do it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, that's what we're talking about. So we do that. We do that live all the time. We'll get everything quiet. There'll be parts where I'll just drop out and just kind of like cheer the crowd on or something. And then once that bass guitar kicks back in, it all starts. Yeah. So we do it all the time.
Yeah, and drums are cross sticking and stuff, and we're just trying to get super duper low to the where like they might even have to like pay attention, because that's the other thing too, is like if you kind of bring it down, you force people to actually get closer to it, especially in a smaller venue.
It's interesting that you even go there. Okay, this is one of my favorite interviews. Was with one of Clapton's bandmates in Cream, where he talked about how their venue, they did a venue with the Beatles, and when the Beatles were up there, was like but you couldn't hear even on stage. You couldn't hear anything they were playing, but when Cream was playing, same venue, their people were sitting there. They would applause on the applause lines. That they'd rock out where those places were there. But then when it came to the point of really zoning into the music, so often that crowd would get quiet because they were listening. They were really hearing what was going on, and that's when they looked at it and said, "They're a pop group. We're a band."
Yeah.
And I was like, the insight in that to the musicianship, that good musicianship draws attention to the music.
Yeah, at certain venues.
Yeah. At certain venues.
We're playing people with Hush Puppies. They're not very interested.
Yeah, the dinner crowd can be rough.
Yeah. I bet. So give us, where are we going from here? Let's run another track here. Where do you want to go with that?
Which one have we haven't done?
I Know What You Do.
We don't. Yeah, I Know What You Do.
So when does I Know What You Do? When did this is this one of the early ones, or
our very first one?
Yeah, and it's the one that's probably the most successful live. probably.
Yeah, and streaming it's the most successful. However, when I cross that line, it's just about to break it. So
it's a fun one to play live.
Yeah, we play it pretty much every show. We'll play it.
Yeah.
And this is kind of interesting, contrasting Wake Up, the most recent one, with the first song. So this is the first one then here. Here you go. What is it like for you, where you're at now, as a duo, knowing how you play off each other, how you work with each other now? What is it like for you when you hear that first song, that first recording? What goes through your mind? What is that like for you?
Well, I listened to it and I think if we recorded it today, it'd be the same, but it would be different. There would definitely, because when we play it live now, there's another bass section that's the same chords, but it's a different feel. that we always go into, but that just came about playing live, and it just happened one day, and now I do it every single time because it just sounds good. So just listen to it. I think if we recorded today, it would just be a little different, but I don't know. I like how it sounds. I think it turned out great, and it was actually somebody else that recorded it for us and mixed it for free. It was just a buddy of ours, and he offered to do it. So I think it turned out great, and it's become one of our best songs. People love it.
Yeah.
How's it feel for you?
On my end, I was telling him while we were listening to it, I was like, I hear where I turn the wah off, and you can hear it in the song, little stuff like that. I'm like, man, knowing what I know now about recording, there's always little things that I would change, but I think it's cool to listen to it and hear the choices I made at the time, and I definitely think at the time I was overplaying and doing a little
it is kind of a lot.
too much, and I wouldn't do that at this point. But I mean, yeah, it would be one I would like to maybe re-release one day.
Yeah.
But yeah, that one I think was pretty indicative of how it's pretty much exactly how I would have played it live at the time. But there's so many, I don't know, now it's like we have so many more options that I don't know. It's because we played it so much. We have things that we do. Like there's things that I'll think when I play it live, like, oh, I could go into this and maybe slow it down and kind of lean into more of the low end kind of stuff, and then make a contrast. It's all about contrast, right? So there's so many things where I'm like, if I could redo it, I maybe wouldn't have played everything so straight down the middle and just full throttle the whole time, because it can be kind of a little too much. But I don't know, can't change it. So
yeah,
you have this journey.
It did.
You have this journey from starting, and then this whole time just doing the grunt work of the weekend gigs and playing night after night and doing those. No musician does this because we're going to get rich out of this. So at least not initially. And if you think that's what you're in there for, you're in the wrong gig. And so there's something else that drives that. And now you're this deep into it. You're committed. This is what you do. This is who you are as a group, as a duo, as friends. This is what you do. If you had to answer the question, why Blue Levee? Why do we do what we do? What is it we want to leave behind? Why does this even matter? Why is this the passion? Why is this the heartbeat? Because this is heartbeat stuff for you guys. So why is it this much of a heartbeat? Why put this much into it? Why does this matter? What do we want to leave behind? What is it that defines that for you?
I've always had a passion for music. But just like certain elements of music, I've really always listened to the mix of a song, the different levels and that kind of stuff. So I don't know, that passion continues. Like even growing up, I would write my own songs and record them in high school, and they were terrible songs, but really what I loved to do, I'd like spend an hour writing a song, and then I'd spend like a month recording a song in my bedroom, just, take after take, trying to get things. And it was like before I knew how to comp anything, so every take you deleted the last take. Uh-huh. So but it's just a passion. I don't know, like it's a lot of work. I mean, we haul heavy equipment down big ramps, up stairs into venues, and it's an hour and a half labor before you stand on stage for 4 hours and play. But yeah, I mean, it's just a passion, and it's just become part of our lifestyles. And I mean, we don't make a killing, but I would be lying if I don't say I rely on the money we make from gigging to, pay for some of the stuff that I do. So, but at the end of the day, you're right. There is like a passion that you have to have for it to convince yourself to get in the car, load all your equipment, and get out to the show every weekend. Yeah. Yeah. So it's just a passion, and I don't know. I'm going to do music some way, somehow for the rest of my life. I don't know if I'm going to be gigging all the time, but at least I'll be recording something or, playing with my wife in the studio or something. I don't know, whatever it is, I'll be doing some kind of music because it's just part of who I am.
Yeah. For me, honestly, it's probably like my favorite thing is like just the guitar playing aspect. I sing, but I mainly consider myself a guitar player first. Mm-hmm. And I always have loved, like, I can get real, I don't know, in the weeds on learning something. Like if I'm excited about learning a song, one of the songs I put in some Eric Johnson stuff, I had like an Eric Johnson phase where it's like, okay, I'm learning Cliffs of Dover, and I just spent like 4 hours doing it, and I was just really into it. And so I love that kind of stuff where you're learning something new and then figuring out, okay, what can I take out of these songs or these players and then mix into something I do and make something new with it. And then I love playing live because of that, because I'm constantly able to experiment. And so sometimes I'm not thinking as much about like stage presence or how someone else is seeing it, which is a problem, so I have to work on that. But for me, it's just the like creative side of it is just like, exploring it as the song goes on and sort of telling a story through your playing. And so that's why, like you mentioned, like playing behind my back and stuff, I had to do that because we got so many complaints when I first started playing. They're like, why do you look sad all the time? Right? And so like, you look sad when you're playing. Like, no, I'm just not paying attention. So then I had to throw in gimmicks and stuff. And
so you decided to throw the Hendrix gimmicks in there just because.
Yeah. And then you have fun with it. But yeah, for me, it's just so fun to experiment, and playing live is with a band that's locked in, and it's do or die, and you just have to make it work. That's when you play the best. For me, it's just like, oh man, this is an opportunity for me to just like really give it everything and just try to play something new,
And I did appreciate that little nuance of, even with the pedal work on the stage. On the videos, as I was watching the videos aspect of it, that little nuance that probably 90% of the people watching it would miss. And I think it grabbed me because there was that split second of camera shift between behind your back and then moving it around, and the camera drifted down to the pedal, and just the pedal work. And then I started noticing how much you're really even learning, you're experimenting with that sound and using that sound on the pedal end of things to build into it. And it was just, I was like, this is you're looking for that something fresh, something new, something to a new way to tell that story. And I love that because it really does come down to, and I say it again every time I deal with an art, this always seems to come down just tell the damn story and find a way to tell it, find a fresh way to tell it to where it grabs people in a way they never heard it before.
Yeah, I think that sums it up pretty well.
Jared, on the guitar, on the producer side, because you're doing so much, this is like Frank was you on this, is that you're doing so much on the production side as well as on the music side. Where does more of your passion lie, or is it kind of evenly split? Where you kind of you're hearing things, but you're hearing things a little differently than most musicians hear, because most musicians don't hear it through a producer's ear. How are you? Where is your passion lie with that?
I like being in the studio and having all the tracks out in front of me and be able to manipulate them and make them sound how I want. So I love that aspect of it. But I also, love being on stage and the bass in my hand and just having all that low end power to, make the song cool. What it is. I would say it's a mix, and I never really thought of myself as hearing music different than other musicians. But I mean, that might be a thing because, I'm always thinking about the recording process because even at our live shows, like the videos you probably watched, they're all mixed. So we record all the stems from our live shows, and then I go in the studio and I mix them, and then I put that on top of the video. So it's about, producing the music, but then, with these videos and the social media posts, it's about telling the story of the band and where we're going and where we've been and where we want to go, and just trying to get all of that to align. But my passion I think it just lies with music as a whole. Growing up, I mean, when I had time, I mean, I'm busy now. I got a kid on the way. I work all the time. So I don't have time to sit down and practice. But when I would practice, I would just practice, everything. It wasn't like a specific genre I would jump into. It's just whatever caught my eye that day, I would, start learning. Like I do all the slapping. But I also love those. There's a lot of bass videos on YouTube of people playing like melodic lines on bass, and they're like playing the chords underneath and like tapping on it. I went through a phase where I tried to do all that, and I got decent at it. But it's just, I think I just have like a very even passion for the whole music experience.
Yeah, and by the way, what he does with the production side, I've had a few artists now, several artists I've gotten to work with in these interviews, and usually they send me just basic pictures, and I spoof them up, and then I make them pop after that. The production for this promo video for this, what he sent me, I was like, Pam, I don't have to touch a thing on this. All I have to do is chop, edit, and put sound in. That is it. It's nice working with professionals.
He probably said that a dozen times. Going through the pictures.
Because it was so well done, and to sit there and have that where you were able, even that being able to see that with that eye of saying, okay, this is how it presents well. These are the tools if someone's putting together a video to promote us. This is what they're going to need. Even to understand that aspect, but definitely there's a full big picture view of the music as well as its production and its presentation. And it's definitely there. So let me ask you guys one last question. I want you guys to talk about each other really quickly. And I want you to talk about as a bandmate, as a friend, as a musician, the thing about that person's character. Think about his character that really stands out and makes this the person that this is who I want to do this with. This is what makes this Blue Levee.
You want to go first?
Deep. Let's see.
Say something nice about
it. So Jaron, I like that, he pushes me, so I can get a little lost in the weeds, kind of like we were talking about. Sometimes I can, I don't know, like get lost in my head or in my playing or my tone. And Jaron has done a good job, like we were talking about earlier, as far as, the theory side of it. He helps me, I think, sometimes contextualize things and kind of bring it back down to earth. And that's always, there's some confrontation we have there, but I think it's important to have that, because I think otherwise I would be, maybe not thinking about the crowd enough, or thinking about, maybe, okay, is that suiting the whole band and not just my playing or my tone, like where am I sitting in the mix, like we were talking about, all that kind of stuff. He's good about that, and helps me kind of, like I said, contextualize things and kind of bring it into scope.
Nice.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Makes sense to me. Every show he's like, plugs in his guitar and says, "Is that too loud?"
Yeah.
And my tip for any producers out there, anyone helping guitar players, always tell them that they're too loud.
Yeah.
They're
Hey. I don't know. Anyway.
But Noah, what I like about Noah, he we have a lot of similar values. I mean, we're both hardworking guys. And we're both like at the same phase in our lives. I guess I'm a little older than him, so I got started with marriage and all that kind of stuff and working a little earlier, but he's right behind me. And I mean, the guitar playing is out of this world. There's, very few guitar players I know or have seen live that play as well as him. So, and your ability to like get the tone out of a guitar, like what tone you're going for, and you're able to produce it well, which is wild to me because I do not have that ability at all. And that's another thing. That's the whole thing. I mean, in the areas that I lack in songwriting. I suck at lyrics, so that's not going to happen. I might be able to make a chord progression, but it's not going to be that good. So Noah, and that's just like one aspect, but there's like other aspects that Noah like complements the parts that I lack in. And, I guess I'm hoping that I compliment the parts that he's lacking in. So I just think it works really well together.
Yeah. Because also the things that you were saying as far as like the chord progression and a lot of the just the overall vibe of a song, I can figure that stuff out. But then sometimes as far as not just the bass line, but he played drums before he was a bass player too. So he has I have no idea how to communicate with a drummer at all. Yeah. It's really bad.
If they know.
Because I'm like, the turnaround, and anyway.
I've been able to mediate between drummers and guitar players.
So yeah, he's like a translator. So if I write this music, I have what I want to do, and then I'm like, I think the bass should do this. And then when we do it, it's like the bass should not be doing that. And so he can translate the rhythm, So again, it's like he makes things more practical and tangible than maybe what I have in mind when I bring it in.
Ladies and gentlemen, Blue Levee, and absolutely an honor to have you guys. I knew there was a reason why I like Jaron. He's not only a bass player, but the drummer. I like the weird guys. I like the weird guys in the band. They're the ones who get the weirdness of my rhythm change-ups, of my key changes, wherever the keyboard's like, really, dude, stop it. And I'm like, but it's fun. And the bass guy's like, yeah, let's go. So I knew, but absolutely good to have you guys here. Honored to have you guys on this platform. It really has been the understanding you bring to the music, as well as just the level, the music you bring to the platform here. I've become a huge fan, and I'm sure there are many more fans being developed just in hearing this interaction here with this. Thank you for being here. Really quickly, share anything as far as what you have coming up, socials you have where people can get a hold of you. Anything you have as promo content, or merch, whatever you guys want to do. And I will tell you guys, if they have merch, if same with any artist, if they have merch, if they have albums, CDs, if they have whatever everything else, and you're interested in them, make sure you contact them. Don't talk finances. Just say, hey, I'm interested in this, and then they'll talk off site for the rest of it, because TikTok Shop, if isn't in the middle of it, doesn't like the fact that money's being talked about. But yeah, to promote from just really quickly spotlight what you're doing, what you have coming up, what you have out there where people can get a hold of you, and put that out there.
Yeah. So thanks for having us on. It's been great. You're an awesome interviewer, by the way. Love the questions.
Sure. Yeah.
And if y'all are interested in following us, you can find us at Blue Levee Band here on TikTok, or we're also on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. YouTube, we put out longer form videos of our live shows. So you can check us out there, and we're always releasing something. We try to get something up every day, but I've been kind of slacking recently. But there's always a video or something up. And then where are we going to be, Noah?
So I had to pull up the calendar. So this Saturday, I don't know if anybody here is, in Florida, but we're going to be at Juana's in Navarre.
On Navarre Beach.
On Navarre Beach, 4 to 8. And then
Then we're doing it again next Saturday at Kiwanis again, and then we're out at 30A at the Big Chill, and that's as far as I know.
and then we got some other stuff. But you can see all this on our webpage.
Yeah, we're always promoting, so if you're interested in us, just give us a follow on whatever social media you use, and we're there.
Yeah, we're going to start trying to write more stuff and record more stuff. At some point, it takes a while, but...
Yeah, scheduling's always an issue, but
Yeah.
we'll get back in the studio eventually.
All right. Thank you guys for being here, guys. Thank you for being here for this interview. I've been looking forward to this one, and it's nice to work with professionals. So I do appreciate these guys being here. Thank you guys for being here. Tomorrow morning, of course, we are doing our morning show, radio show, bright and early, 6:30 to bit after 8:30, probably 9:30, just because. And then, of course, noon to 2, we have our all non-mainstream covers of mainstream songs. One of my favorite shows to do because I can just rock out with covers and just have fun with it. So make sure you're here for that. And then, of course, we have the rest of our regular schedule. Everything is scheduled. Everything is posted. Next Monday, we have Lady Shine. Those are your poets. You know her. You love her. She is a huge name here on TikTok. And she is going to be here in the house Monday, 10 to noon. You don't want to miss that feature artist interview. And, of course, watch out for pop-ups, other things that happen on this platform. It's a very, very busy platform. I don't sleep a lot. So thank you guys for being here. Till next time, guys. Catch you on the flip side. The B-side really is always better. Till then, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and just love each other, guys. Really is that simple. Let's not make it complicated. Till then, have a great day.
Bye, y'all.
Thank you.